When I collapsed at work, the doctors called my parents. They never came. 3 days later, still hooked to machines, I opened my phone and saw what they'd been doing. My sister's smiling face had tagged me under a photo. Family day. No drama. The caption burned hotter than the 4 in my arm. I didn't text. I didn't cry. I just watched the likes climb and wondered when family stopped meaning love and started meaning performance. 4 days later, my phone exploded with 74 missed calls and one short message from Dad. We need you. That was the moment everything changed, just not the way they expected. Used to think exhaustion was proof of dependability. At Green Tech, deadlines were tight and projects endless. Somehow, I was always the one who stayed late, the one who made things happen. My coworkers called it discipline. They didn't know it wasn't drive, it was survival. Every hour I worked wasn't just for me. It was for the people waiting at home to be rescued. Again, my dad, Robert, had been out of work since the housing crash. He called it temporary. 7 years felt permanent. My mom, Elena, said he just needed time. What he really needed was someone else's paycheck, mine. My sister, Marissa, the family influencer, was always launching something new. Wellness brand, podcast, candle line. Each failed faster than the last. Help usually came as quick transfers, labeled help, or just this month. Peyton, the youngest, studying design, liked to play peacekeeper. She never argued. She borrowed quietly and forgot loudly. From the outside, we looked perfect, matching sweaters, holiday photos, curated smiles. Online, Marissa called us the Millers, proof that love is everything. She posted that right after I'd paid Mom's car insurance and covered a mortgage late fee. Apparently, love had a balance due. Grandpa Joe saw through it. He'd been a law firm accountant for 40 years and read people like spreadsheets. You can't audit love, he told me once, but you'll know when the numbers stop adding up. He warned me gently that my parents had started to see me as the fallback plan. I didn't want to believe him. I was raised to think loyalty fixed everything, so I kept fixing. I paid what I shouldn't and smiled when I shouldn't. The truth is, I was afraid to stop. Afraid that if I ever said no, they'd finally show me what love was really worth. The night before I collapsed, I was at the office until 10 p.m., blinking at blueprints I couldn't focus on. My chest had been tightening for weeks. My vision had been fading at the edges. I thought it was stress. It wasn't. As I packed up my laptop, my phone buzzed. Marissa, can you cover my rent? Promise I'll pay you back next month? I typed a reply, deleted it, typed again. Sure. That was the last message I sent before the floor came up to meet me. Hospital lights are too white, too clean, like they're trying to erase what happened. When I opened my eyes, everything blurred. Ceiling tiles, 4 lines, the nurse asking if I knew where I was. My phone was dead. My chest ached. The monitor beside me beeped softly, keeping time with something fragile inside me. A doctor explained, calm but distant, cardiac event. You were lucky your coworker acted fast. Lucky? That word stung. Luck shouldn't be what kept me alive. Love should have done that. They told me they'd called my emergency contacts. My parents didn't answer. We left messages, the nurse added carefully, as if the truth might hurt more than the 4-needle. Hours passed, no calls. No visits, nothing. I watched sunlight crawl across the wall until it disappeared. On the 3rd day, the nurse wheeled in my phone, fully charged. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. The first notification wasn't a missed call. It was, "You've been tagged." My fingers trembled as I tapped it open. The picture loaded slowly. Sunlight on lake water, my family gathered around a picnic table. Mom holding a plate of deviled eggs. Dad with a beer. Peyton flashing a peace sign beside Marissa. The caption glowed beneath their perfect faces. Family day, No drama. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The monitor spiked with my pulse. The irony was almost poetic. They had erased me while pretending to celebrate family. I zoomed in on their faces. No one looked guilty. No one looked like they were missing me. A nurse passed and asked if I needed anything. I said, no, I think I've had enough. I didn't comment. I didn't call. I didn't even text. I just stared until the phone dimmed and my reflection looked back at me, pale, tired, but suddenly calm. That calm didn't come from peace. It came from clarity. By the fourth day, I was walking again, slow and unsteady, dragging the four-pole like a second shadow. The doctor said recovery would take weeks. He didn't know it would be my heart and my life that needed healing. Then one morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. 74 missed calls. A text from Dad. We need you. Answer immediately. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just urgency, command, panic. I read it twice and almost laughed. They ignored me when I needed them most. Now they were demanding I save them. I didn't call back. Not this time. I scrolled to another contact. Grandpa Joe. My thumb hovered, then tapped. He answered on the second ring. You don't have to explain, he said quietly. For the first time in years, someone spoke like I mattered. 40 minutes later, he was at my bedside in his old brown windbreaker. He didn't hug me. He sat down like he belonged there. They finally broke you, huh? He said. I smiled, barely. Guess so. He didn't need details. He already knew. Grandpa Joe stayed the whole day. He talked to my nurse, made sure my insurance covered what it should. When the billing clerk mentioned unpaid balances, he didn't flinch. He pulled out his tablet and began typing. What are you doing? I asked. Taking stock, he said. Before you start cutting cords, you need to know where they all lead. We went through everything. Checking accounts, automatic transfers, car payments, joint credit lines. My stomach turned as the list grew. Every week, money left my account like slow bleeding. Marissa's loan, Peyton's rent, Mom's car, even. A utilities payment for a house I hadn't lived in since college. How did I let this happen? I whispered. You thought it was love, Grandpa Joe said simply. They thought it was obligation. Different math. That night, while machines hummed and the hospital went quiet, Grandpa Joe taught me how to shut them off, one by one. Not out of spite, but self-preservation. He drafted a spreadsheet, listed every recurring payment, and handed it to me like a map out of hell. Tomorrow, he said, we start with the bank. I didn't sleep. I kept seeing that photo, their smiles, the sunlight, and the monitor's faint beeps like a countdown. The next morning, I called my bank from the hospital. By noon, the auto transfers were gone. Marissa's account was canceled. Peyton's rent deposit stopped. Mom's insurance payment was removed. Each click felt like breathing again. By evening, the phone started buzzing. Mom, we just heard what happened. Why didn't you tell us? Peyton, can we talk? It's a misunderstanding. I ignored them all. Grandpa Joe pretended not to watch as I scrolled. You feel guilty yet? He asked. Yeah, I admitted. A little. I'll pass, he said, folding his newspaper. Guilt is the tax good people pay before freedom. 2 days later, I was back at Grandpa Joe's place in Portland. He had cleared the dining table and spread files like a general preparing for war. Payment histories, account statements, insurance letters, my financial fingerprints across years of quiet enabling. Every story leaves a paper trail. Mine happened to be in dollars. By the time we finished, the picture was clear. I hadn't just helped them. I had been financing the illusion of their stability. Without my income, their image, their comfort, their control would collapse, and collapse it did. The calls doubled. Voicemails overflowed with Mom's careful voice, sweet on the surface, sharp underneath. Ava, honey, we didn't know you were in the hospital. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Your father's worried about the mortgage again? Worried, not sorry. Marissa sent screenshots of her empty account and a text. If you don't fix this, I'll lose everything. I stared long before I replied with a single word. Good. Peyton messaged, I'm not like them. Please don't punish me. I almost laughed. She'd said the same thing when I co-signed her lease. Then a car idled outside my building. My father sat inside, eyes on my window like a debt collector waiting for confession. He didn't come up, he just waited. Later, a message. You're about to destroy everything we built. I hope you understand the damage you're causing. Everything we built. I read it aloud to taste the absurdity. That night, Marissa uploaded a video, an emotional walk through our childhood home, now empty. She panned across bare walls and scattered boxes. The camera cut to a smiling photo of me from years ago. Caption, sometimes blood doesn't mean family. The comments exploded with sympathy, pity, and judgment. Influencers reposted it. Strangers called me ungrateful. Grandpa Joe watched the whole thing in silence, then made 3 phone calls. Within 48 hours, we had every document. Mortgage papers, loan defaults, late fees. They had used the house equity to pay off Marissa's cards and fund Peyton's boutique that never opened. The math exposed them. I didn't have to accuse them. The numbers did it for me. We filed a fraud report. Grandpa Joe and his lawyer prepared a cease and desist. No contact, no impersonation, no financial claims. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. The next morning, Peyton turned up at my building, arguing with security. She wasn't on the approved visitor list. I didn't go down. Grandpa Joe showed up with a thick envelope. Inside were emails between my parents and a small law firm, an emergency petition for temporary conservatorship. They tried something like this before. It didn't work then, and it didn't work now. My trust, the doctor's statements, HR confirmation, everything was in order. Their motion died on arrival. Still, they didn't stop. Marissa posted again, this time in tears. Mental illness doesn't always look like what you expect, she said. Sometimes the people you love push you away. We're trying to help her before it's too late. Her followers flooded the comments with sympathy, but someone found her old Family Day post and stitched it beside her crying video. So where was that concern when she was in the hospital? The caption read, the tide turned overnight. Brand deals were paused. Peyton's Etsy was bombarded with comments. Dad's clients pulled out. Even Mom's Facebook filled with strangers demanding answers. Their online empire collapsed faster than their finances. Grandpa Joe handed me his coffee mug. You didn't have to lift a finger, he said. The truth handled itself. That night, a single text came from Mom. Please, can we talk? I stared, thumb hovering, then locked the screen and set it face down. Grandpa Joe looked up. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. Just done. But they weren't done. A courier delivered another envelope. This one was from Dad, a handwritten will. He'd rewritten it after the conservatorship failed. In shaky pen, in the event of my death, all assets go to the remaining family who maintain unity. Ava is disinherited until she reconciles. I couldn't help laughing. It was the same manipulation wrapped in formal ink. I showed it to Grandpa Joe. He smiled faintly. They still think you want something, he said. They're not used to someone walking away before the money. That evening, I wrote my final reply through my attorney. Short, precise, and final. I waive all rights to the estate and request permanent no contact. I signed it, sealed it, and handed it to Grandpa Joe. File it Monday, I said. He nodded. What will I do now? I looked out the window. Rain was clearing. I think I'll rest, I said. Maybe somewhere quieter. For the first time in years, I meant it. 2 weeks later, the rain stopped. Grandpa Joe and I packed what little I wanted to keep: one suitcase, my laptop, a few photos that still felt like mine. We drove east toward Colorado. He wanted to see the mountains before winter. I didn't argue. Mile after mile, the world got quieter. The cabin we rented sat near a ridge of pine trees. No noise, no traffic, no family. Just honest silence. I worked remotely at Green Tech with fewer hours and less pressure. My days began with black coffee and ended with the wind scraping the roof. Sometimes messages still arrived. Cousins asking what happened, strangers saying they read the post. I didn't answer. I didn't need to let anyone pick the version of me that made sense to them. My truth didn't need witnesses anymore. Grandpa. Joe sat by the window with his newspaper, pretending not to watch me breathe easier. One morning, he said, "You did it. You broke the cycle." I smiled. "It only cost everything." He chuckled. "That's the discount price." He was right. What I gained was worth more than their apologies, their inheritances, and their forced family photos. For the first time, I wasn't the provider, the fixer, or the daughter who owed everyone. I was Ava, alive, unbound, and finally free. I used to think silence meant defeat, that walking away was giving up. Now I know silence can be a choice, a border, a kind of peace that doesn't need anyone's permission. My family still tries to test my quiet through other people. I never break it. Some stories don't need new chapters. They just need to end. If you've ever been called selfish for putting yourself first, I hope this helps. Choosing peace isn't betrayal. It's survival. If you've ever had to walk away from your own blood to heal, share your story below.